Second, nobody talks about this, but I promise you it's critical to us. Free trade. We don't have free trade. We've lost 20 million jobs to China. I've spent more than 6 months of my life in China. Some of these ads that the Democrats are now attacking me with in Massachusetts, because I'm fighting down there, some of these ads are going to say about me that I took jobs to China. Baloney. I do business with China because I'm a global businessman. That's what we have to do to succeed and compete. People in New Hampshire have been competing on the world stage since it was a state. Now I'm going to tell you, I've seen China up close. They're taking our jobs, they're manipulating their currency, they're stealing our best ideas, they're pirating our technology. You saw Google in the New York Times. I didn't see one United States government figure stand up and say, Google, God bless. That's what we do well. IBM, Google, Microsoft. Those technologies as we speak and sit right here today are being stolen by those folks. We must insist on free trade. We must insist that people trade with us fairly. We ought not to let the Europeans, you know, one of our biggest exports was Boeing, airplanes. What did the Europeans do? They formed Airbus. We didn't say anything. Pumped all this government money into it. They structured the rules, and they let Airbus grow, and now we have a competitor. Where was the government saying, what about that? Okay? Microsoft. Microsoft, 2 years ago, got $1.5 billion fine from the Europeans because they weren't competing effectively. Where was our government saying, hey, that's not right. You're bashing one of our most successful businesses. It was complete politics because they're paid by lobbyists. That's why this stuff doesn't happen. The Chinese go to Washington and they hire lobbyists. The Europeans go to Washington and they hire lobbyists. We're giving them the rope to hang ourselves. And I promise you that won't happen if I'm the United States Senator. I'll insist on free trade. It's critically important. It really, really is. The third is a jobs credit. We have 60,000 people in New Hampshire unemployed. We have tens of thousands more who are underemployed. God bless the person who loses a job at $20 an hour. Because you know what? That poor so-and-so is getting a job at $8.50. And we know it. I know it. I deal with them all the time. I see it up close. I've never once been involved in giving somebody a job and not having them say thank you and smile. Every time. We need a jobs credit, a straightforward jobs credit. What is it? Well, right now, if you're unemployed in the state of New Hampshire, you get 26 weeks pay at $435 a week, okay? Plus health benefits and so forth. It costs the average taxpayer over $20,000 for that person by that time that cycle is done. Let's invest in that person. Let's say, okay, we'll keep your benefits, but we're going to give you $5,000. Take that $5,000 down to an employer in the form of tax credit. The employer gets to hire you and gets to take $5,000 off their taxes. Okay? I call that an investment. The rate of return on that is 100%. Who here wouldn't do a deal and get 100% on their money in a year? Okay? It doesn't cost us anything. We take the Social Security, which costs 12.5%, 6.25% to the employer, 6.25% to the employee. We waive it for 2 years. We just made labor a lot cheaper in America. We made it more competitive when we compete against our so-called free trade allies. And more importantly, it will create millions and millions of jobs. I promise I'll answer that question by the time I'm done with my rant. I promise you.
I promise you won't.
I'd
I'd like to waive it for the next 200 years personally. Can you work on that?
I will get right to it. So, some simple ideas. Free trade, a jobs credit, a VA hospital. Things that aren't incredibly expensive, that are good investments and common sense. Reckless spending doesn't work in Washington. My focus is on economics, on jobs, and on maintaining and making sure the life that we've come to enjoy is as good, and we give it to our children in the next generation. That's why I'm running. I'm Bill Binnie. I've never been afraid of hard work. I'm good at it. I love the opportunity to serve you. Thank you.